Yeah, so here in the UK, 40% of our electricity is now from renewable sources.
Right.
Across the world, Japan's at 20%, most of Europe's between 20 and 40. So that move is now happening at scale. And of course, as the current crisis shows, we need more of it.
How do we get more? Particularly if we take, for example, what we're discovering with Ukraine and Russia. I mean, there was even a shift back to coal at one particular point to try and take up the slack from oil and gas.
And what this is demonstrating is that roughly a decade ago, when countries around the world scaled back their renewables, we're now paying the price for that. What we need to do is double down. And every wind turbine, every solar panel means we'll use less gas, means we'll give less power and less leverage to Putin.
But that's longer term, isn't it? The renewable switch up, if you like, or power up, will take a long time.
In the pandemic, we discovered that the 15-year process for creating and licensing a vaccine could be done in a year. It's the same with renewables. Typically, in most countries, it takes 7, 8 years to build renewables from the day you start planning. We could do it in a year if we sort out the bureaucratic processes. So actually, within a year of now, we could make a difference to renewables.
Do you see one of the side effects, and I was listening to Ursula von der Leyen of the Commission basically saying that this war has accelerated dramatically, almost put on steroids, if you will, the shift to green energy?
It really has. I mean, what you're seeing is countries around the world, especially in Europe, massively accelerating commitments they've made and making new commitments. But I think the thing here is that every fossil fuel crisis before, we haven't had an alternative. But today, renewables are cheaper than fossil fuels were even before the crisis.
How did the UK get into such a mess that prices went up 60, 70% this year, and there'll be huge increases next year?
Yeah, we've got to note that on the global markets, at some points, the price of gas has been 10 times higher than it was prior to the crisis. So actually what you're seeing is countries are kind of buffering and dampening these effects. But the reality is, what we need to do is move to renewables faster so we don't have any more crises like this.
Are renewables a realistic, full-scale replacement for fossils?
They are now. What we're seeing, for example, is electric cars are 25% of new car sales in the UK now are electric. That's a threefold increase on just a year ago.
Right, but how's the electricity produced that's going to drive the car?
The great news is that, for example, electric cars are the perfect complement to renewable generation. The average car, you only need to charge it every few days. So we can use those windy and sunny days to fill up batteries. And that means that we need less electricity the rest of the time. So actually what it lets us do is go renewable faster.
I'm not cynical. I'm skeptical.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical that it'll ever reach it will ever fully replace fossil.
Yeah, most people don't have a landline anymore, and if they do, they use it for the internet.
I do.
Right, and there's maybe a generational thing, right?
No, thank you.
You and I are in the same one.
Yeah.
But the reality is that, if you told people more than 10, 15 years ago that mobile phones would basically replace landlines, they wouldn't have believed you. And yet we're in a world today where most landlines are used for the internet and most people don't know their phone number.